Good morning, everyone. Welcome to episode number 52 of the Project 2020 show. Don Mattingly by Fucci breaks another record. At the same time, Tyson Beck releases his Frank Thomas and Old Man Allen releases his Cal Ripken. We're also going to take a look back at where we came from 3 weeks ago on pricing as we just closed out our 6th full week of complete everyday pricing. But let's get to all of that right now. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for clicking on that thumbnail. My name is Chris, and if you want to connect with me outside of this video, I'm on Twitter and Instagram at CRT_sportscards. But getting right to things this morning, the one thing we talked about on yesterday's episode was the print run projections for Don Mattingly and the Jackie Robinson for Matt Taylor. And we spoke about how the Don Mattingly set a record for low pre-orders. Don Mattingly now set a record for the biggest second day gain in Project 2020 reserves. Typically on a reserve on day 2, we're seeing 30-35%. On cards like Derek Jeter, we would see about 25%. We would see people move over to tops away from eBay. But on this card, 53% gain after one day. I have never seen a card in the 40% range in the 6 weeks that I've been tracking this. That card jumped all the way to 69 pre-orders, and I'm changing my range right now from 3.25 to 4.25 to 4.75 to 6, but not over 6.1. So if it's going to get in the 6s, it's going to be like 6,050. But it was just an incredible surge, an incredible pickup, and so I have to get this range back up a little bit because there's no way this card to me right now does under 4,000. And then quickly touching on the Welcome to Las Vegas card by Matt Taylor, otherwise known as Jackie Robinson. This card also exceeded my expectations on pre-orders. 18 more than expected, 93 versus 75, but I'm keeping my range at 5.5 to 6.5. When you think back to last week in Griffey and Ichiro, 6,000 is a lot of cards right now, even the Mr. Cartoon, Roberto Clemente. So I like my range still at 5.5 to 6.5, even though there's 93 pre-orders on the books after 2 days. I like the range where it is. But enough about yesterday and Monday. Let's talk about Wednesday. Let's talk about one of the 2 cards that are up for pre-order right now on Topps.com. And just like his first career hit, which was a triple, Frank Thomas was not a home run for me, but it was pretty darn good. And I really, really like this card. But when you think back to my favorite card of the day, it is going to be the Old Man Allen Cal Ripken. But we'll talk about that here in a second. This is all about Tyson Beck. But when you look at this Frank Thomas, just a fantastic card overall, and it really pays homage to the actual first card. But let's take a look at that card real quick. So a couple things on this card stand out. Number one, the name tag. It is just fantastic, and thank you, Tyson Beck, for including the name tag of the no name on the front. And for anyone who is unaware, there is a error card out there, Frank Thomas, of this 90 Topps card without a name on it. So anybody who does a no name on front variation in my books is a winner. So thank you for that. Also, number 15 on his sleeve, that is the number he wore when he came up as a rookie. So that's why 15 is there. And I just like the wrapping around of the label of baseballs were hurt in this product. I think it's just a great card overall. But let's take a look at Tyson Beck and his history so far in this project. So this is Tyson Beck's 9th card in the set. And where I really started to notice Tyson Beck's work was with the Bob Gibson card number 70. And then he delivered the Koufax, Williams, and then recently with the Jackie Robinson. Unfortunately, due to the fact that his Dwight Gooden is such a low print run, 1,065, I will never own a complete Tyson Beck set just because that card is so darn expensive. And then his highest printed card is Sandy Koufax at 21,535. But let's take a look at Frank Thomas real quick. This is Frank Thomas's 8th card so far in Project 2020. And let's just be honest, the card they picked, they had to pick this card, but it's so hard to work with, and the artists are doing their best job with this card. It's great that Frank Thomas was included, but maybe they could have picked another player, but this card was just difficult to work with. When you think of print runs here, his lowest printed card is the Rochester at 1,480, and then his highest printed card is the Fucci at 22911. So when you look at Tyson Beck and you look at Frank Thomas, what are my favorites? And look, no surprise here, the Tyson Beck, it still is that Ted Williams. That Ted Williams is just a magnificent card, and I think it's just fantastic overall. And then on the Frank Thomas, I'm a homer here. It is natural. That card to me is clean. It's crisp. I love the triangles. So right now, no surprise, natural wins and Tyson Beck. Now talking on Fucci real quick, and then moving over to Ermsey, when you think of the Forgotten Seven, if there is ever a release date of a Fucci and an Ermsey card on the same day, I might not do a show. I cannot, for some reason, get these two artists straight, and I keep crisscrossing their names on the players. So in my correction episode yesterday, when I talked about Dwight Gooden for the Forgotten Seven, I said Dwight Gooden, who was made by Fucci. It's actually Dwight Gooden by Ermsey. So eventually I'll get these two straight, but I keep messing them up. And it all started with me giving Mark McGuire credit for his Ermsey design instead of Fucci, and I can't get them separated now again, but we'll do better in the future. But now let's take a quick look at the Forgotten Seven. So when you look at the Forgotten Seven, and for anyone who is new to the show, the Forgotten Seven are the cards that are printed under 2,000 but are not a first or second player card, and they're kind of getting lost in the shuffle. So I'm bringing them to light, and we're talking about the prices every single day. So yesterday, 4 of the 7 cards sold, and what do you see? All growth, all green. Roberto Clemente Grotesque up 28%, up to 142. I mean, a couple weeks ago that card was $100. Dwight Gooden by Ermsey up 9%. Bob Gibson by Keith Shore up 16%. So very solid movement here. But the JK5 cards and Tyson Beck, George Brett did not sell yesterday. But let's take a look at first and second player pricing real quick. Now what you'll notice here on the first player pricing is I have cut off 714. These charts get a little big on Wednesdays because of the way we track our data, but we now have 6 weeks of information here to look at. And what I've done is I've taken the data from last week and then I've compared it to 3 weeks ago, and I'll show you here in a second. But on first player pricing, a ton of green here. Ichiro, 1458. Ken Griffey, King Saladin up 15%, 471. The key takeaway here on first player pricing, and it's something to look at as we go forward with this set, and to me is a really good strong sign for this set when you think of long-term value. Dwight Gooden's card by Tyson Beck with 1,065 printed, the lowest printed card out there, has now surpassed Mike Trout's Ermsey. It just beat it for the first time this week by about $20, a little bit less than $20. 4 weeks ago, there was a $150 difference in those cards with Mike Trout crushing the Dwight Gooden by Tyson Beck. So it's really good to see that there is some movement in this card overall. And I was very concerned that we'd never get past Mike Trout from a value perspective, but we have done that now. And it's going to be curious to see where this card goes in the future. Now taking a look at second player pricing, again here, a ton of green. A few things to note. Number one, look at Derek Jeter card 39 towards the bottom. Down 22%. That card is a 9,000 print run card, and when you think of a market moving up, that card is moving down, but it's only $23 versus $29, but a very significant move down in that card. But then on the positive side, we have Ricky Henderson, card 21, up nearly 20%, and I was notified today on Twitter that there is an upcoming private signing for Ricky Henderson, which has potential to be driving these prices up. People want these cards to get signed. It's unknown if it is. That's the reason, but that's a good explanation at the moment. So now when you look at the new data and you think of how can we look at this data in a new perspective, what I've done is taken the data from last week and compared it to 3 weeks ago. Because we now have 6 weeks of in the moment tracking, we can start to make a strong determination on where these cards are going and what cards maybe we can buy or maybe what cards we can pass that maybe we can resell in the future. So as you look at these charts, and they're going to scroll through here as I talk about it, only 4 cards are down over the past 3 weeks when it comes to first and second player pricing. So very, very nice movement there. The challenge here is what number do you need to be at to make money on eBay? We know that when you sell a card on eBay, you're going to lose about 10 to 14% on fees. So when you're looking at these cards, you need to probably be 30, 35, 40% up to make it worth your time and effort to resell these cards. So, and I get it, not everyone sells on eBay. A lot of people are moving over to Facebook with all of the eBay returns that have happened and all that nonsense. And I get it, there's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, StockX, there's a lot of websites out there. But when you're looking at these cards from a resale perspective, you got to keep that fee perspective in mind. But if you're selling on a non-fee website, you can make that lower number. But use this data however you want. Take a look at it. It'll be up for over a week on the website, as long as I feel it's still relevant and not sort of outdated. But it's going to be good to look at, and maybe you can make a couple purchases and make some money on the side. And now let's get to my favorite card of the day, and this is the Cal Ripken by Old Man Allen. This card is great in a couple of different reasons, but I also want to call your attention to the fact that Old Man Allen has done very few big names. He's only done one big player, and that is Ken Griffey Jr. at the moment. And just like Cal Ripken, once he gets started, he never stops. And if you're sleeping on Old Man Allen and the work that he can do, I would take a look at his library right now. There are some great cards out there, and he has some big names still left to do. So it's going to be interesting to see where he ends up at the end of this. But let's take a look at Old Man Allen and then Cal Ripken. Now, this is Old Man Allen's 9th card in the set. We had him recently with the Don Mattingly and the Ken Griffey Jr. And what is his signature move? It's that border, it's the photo, and all of these cards are moving together very nicely as a team in a sense. But on a print run perspective, his number 1 printed card is that Ted Williams in the heart of the bubble, 41,407. That number just seems so comical these days, but that was the day and age we lived in just a few months ago. And then his lowest printed card is Mariano Rivera at 1127. Now looking at Cal Ripken Jr., this is his 8th card also. When you think of his progression so far, his Ben Baller card is actually not his number 1 printed card. It is actually the Don C at 41,362. His Ripken came in at 36,466. And his lowest printed card is 1,205 with Fucci, not Ermsey. So when you look at my favorite cards of Old Man Allen and of Cal Ripken Jr., it is the Ted Williams Old Man Allen. So on this Wednesday, both of my favorite cards are of Ted Williams from Tyson Beck and from Old Man Allen. And then on Cal Ripken Jr., it is the Gregory Siff. I spoke about this card on the episodes last week around his Mark McGwire card, but I'm really starting to like this Cal Ripken Jr. card by Gregory Siff more and more every single day. Now, taking a look at Tuesday's cards when it comes to where did they fall at 11 p.m. last night on pre-orders on eBay. The F. Derek Jeter comes in at 68 pre-orders, and the Andrew Thiel Ted Williams comes in at just 36 pre-orders. So for some perspective here on this Derek Jeter, when you look at his last couple of releases, his Ermsey version, 318 pre-orders after one day, and his Ben Baller over 270. So this 60 number is rock bottom for Derek Jeter. There are some cool giveaways, the F. signed jersey, the artwork. There's some cool things on there. It's not really going to drive a print run. In my opinion, you shouldn't be buying 50, 60 for a chance of these things. But on a print run perspective, and I will say, I feel that I'm struggling this week so far on these ranges. The Monday cards were difficult. These cards feel difficult to me. We'll see how I come out in a couple of hours on the Monday cards. But on Derek Jeter right now, due to who he is, the artist, and the giveaways, I like right now 10 to 12,000 on this Jeter. I will see how the pre-orders come in today, but we probably will see a very low eBay penetration due to everyone going to Topps to pick up their cards. And then on the Andrew Thiel, Ted Williams, I'm looking at strictly a 4,000 to 5,000 range, but I don't think it gets over 5.1. So if it's in the 5,000s, it's 5,050, 5,060. But we'll see how the pre-orders come in tonight at 11 o'clock. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want more news and notes from me around Project 2020, please check out that playlist on the screen right now.